Alright fellas, here we are back in Pokemon Masters. Tomorrow we're going to get tomorrow we're going to be in the release of Bede and Signature Wally rerun again alongside the high score event, Fairy and Water type Masters. So obviously it's the first time we're getting a dual banner for the high score event, or dual typing for the high score event, which we knew about ever since the Psychic high score event back in March. So this is cool. What's confusing to me, for one, is that Bede is their rerun choice, because he's a fine Fairy Sync pair, but like, why? Also, Wally makes sense for sure, but also the fact that like this is a Water and Fairy high score event banner. For one of two things should have happened. One, Bede should have been replaced with Signature Mina, who supplies buffs to both Fairy and Water sync pairs. Great sync pair for this high score event. Or replace Bede with another Water with a Water sync pair, right? Like, we've got a ton of options. Granted, literally all of like the big ones that I can think of off the top of my head are already rerunning in other banners, whether it be Dojo Gloria for the triple banner, or Lysander and Ucine's rerunning later in the month. But even if we want to look at like other water type PokeFairs, I'm not going to mention Signature Blue. I guess Dahlia is a little bit too new to be rerunning, so I guess, you know, they couldn't really have rerun many water sync pairs in this banner, but I still do think that they probably should have rerun a water sync pair or Signature Mina. I don't think Bede should have been on the banner, simply because I don't think Bede is that great of a sync pair. Okay, he's fine. Like, he's a fine sync pair. He's got good abilities and whatnot, yada yada. Get the formalities out of the way. But like, also, I don't think he's that fantastic, and I don't think he's that great for this game mode either. Like, you got to consider a lot of the high score event banners have had pretty decent value. Granted, I don't think the grass one was that good, but the first water banner had Dojo Gloria and Signature Lysander. Those are two great sync pairs. The fire one had Signature Morty and Signature May, maybe? Yeah, I think it was Signature May. Those are two great sync pairs as well, right? So, just a little confusing to me. They rerun Bede? Sure, whatever. I guess we'll go ahead and look at the kits. Wally and Bede did get upgrades, with Bede getting the Field EX roll and Wally getting Sprint, which was pretty nice. I'm not sure why Bede got Field, but Wally getting Sprint was good. Wally's good. I'm kidding. I'm playing around. So whatever. Let's look at the stats. So Bede's stats is 6-star EX, level 140, 733 health, 226 both defenses, 376 special attack, 320 speed. Fine stats all around. Special attack's good. Field EX roll does apply some more defensive buffs and some more HP buffs, and obviously level 150 helps out even more, so he can get some pretty solid stats going on. That's always nice. He's got 3 non-high powered damaging moves, mostly for utility: Dazzling Gleam, Mystical Fire, and Psybeam. 2 gauge moves: Dazzling Gleam's AoE, Mystical Fire debuffs special attack, and Psybeam has a 10% chance of confusion. That's relatively nice. And he's got his turn move Back to You, which applies the status condition reflection effect to the allied field of play. I forget what that does. I'm going to be honest, I forget what that does. It's something that I don't ever think about. Applies special attack and crit buffs him by 2, and lowers his own defense by 1. I don't know why it lowers defense. This is not that great of a training move, but sure, it exists. Self-sufficiency is nice for sure, and applying whatever this does. If I were to guess status condition reflection, it prevents status conditions, I guess. But also, isn't that nullification? I don't know. Either way, going to the passives, he's got Battle Buff 9, powering up his moves and sync moves when the target is confused. Stupefaction 9, 100% chance to lower enemy special attack and special defense by 1 when using a move, max move, or sync move against the target Pokemon. And then Maximum Superpowered powers up moves that are super effective, sync moves, and max moves that are also super effective. So if you're on type, he's going to be doing some good damage. Also, again, he can use max moves. So he's got G-Max Smite, Max Flare, and Max Mindstorm, leaving all enemies confused, applying Sun, or applying Psychic Terrain. So that's pretty good. And he does have the innate multiplier of Confusion, so that also exists. Which, combine that with Battle Buff, and he does have 190% in total multipliers, which is good for a 1 out of 5 sync pair for sure. He does have guaranteed special attack and special defense debuffs as well on the max move, sync move, and normal DPS options. Being AoE with Dazzling Gleam is nice, and on top of the double special attack debuffing with Mystical Fire, that's not too bad as well. And again, maximum superpowered, so if any enemies are weak to Fairy Fire or Psychic, then obviously he's going to have some good max move damage, and I guess DPS. I guess, man, sure. That's nice, though, I guess. It's a fine base kit. I don't like that he requires confusion, which means that on his nuke you'll have to have used the max move first, or you'll have to have a way to actually consistently set confusion, which I think by itself is already not that fantastic, at 1 out of 5 specifically, because confusion wears off, so once that max move's confusion wears off, he doesn't have any other way to confuse, because, come on, 10% chance, man, come on. But I think that's probably the only real issue. Well, there's other issues, but really that's my only justifiable complaint, I guess, of him at 1 out of 5. 1 out of 5 in the grid has nothing. 2 out of 5 he gets a Gobsmack 4 for a 50% chance of confusion. That does fix the prior problem I mentioned, so that's nice. Super Duper Effective 2 for extra DPS. I mean, you're still not going to be doing much damage, so the 20% is not going to be that great. Same with Maximum Super Powered 1. It's another 10%. Trainer move Group Therapy, removing status conditions from allies when the move is successful. The trainer move, so it prevents status conditions. That's nice. Unbending, Precognition, Weird Recovery, Speeding Sun, Healing Sun. Just some general gauge and healing abilities dependent on Sun and Psychic Terrain, because obviously he sets both of those. Generally nothing that crazy. And I guess Special Attack plus 10 as well. Sure. And Unbending, preventing defense debuffs. That's good to prevent the trainer move from utterly bullying his defenses into the ground. That is nice too. But overall, not really a great 2 out of 5. 5 out of 5, he gets Hard Knocks 9, Sync Nodes, Confusion Synergy 9, G-Max Smite, Max Flare, and Max Mindstorm multipliers. Stupor Fire 4, Sync Buff, another Sync Node, Trainer Move Ramp Up, and Fuzzy Strike. Sure. Fuzzy Strike's good, that's a 50% nuke multiplier, very nice, makes his nuke very solid, definitely. Trainer Move Ramp Up for self-sufficiency and maxing special attacks, fine as well, nothing crazy, but it's easy to pick up. It's really the only way you're going to get the Fuzzy Strike anyway, so now he's got full self-sufficiency. Not for free, but pretty much required. Unless you want to go for Super Duper Effective 2 instead, which, quit playing. And then Sync Node, Stupor Fire 4 for a 50% chance to debuff enemy special defense. Very, very nice for double special defense drops, makes his debuffs faster and makes his damage go a little bit higher, a little bit quicker, right? And also combine that with Mystical Fire, and you've got yourself potentially double special attack and special defense debuffs. That's nice. Max Mindstorm 100 power, Max Flare and G-Max Smite 100 power. I mean, you're probably not going to be picking these up, but if you do, you're going to have a very nuclear max move. Well, a pretty nuclear max move. He's also got Confusion Synergy 9 for a 90% DPS multiplier when enemies are confused. I mean, I don't know how... I can't 100% say with certainty how great Bede's DPS is, but, like, I guess 90% multipliers here, 50% multipliers here, 90% multipliers here, I guess another 10% here, right? Like, if you're hitting super effective damage and you've got everything else activated, like, he's going to be doing quite solid damage. But realistically, at least in the high score event, or what this banner is built for, I guess, I don't think any of these are going to be hitting anyone super effectively, other than maybe like a side or something. So I mean, I don't see too much usefulness in at least this multiplier and this multiplier, but I mean the 90% DPS multipliers with Battle Buff, or Baffle Buff and Confusion Synergy is nice, I suppose. I don't know if it's going to be that helpful, but because 55 power, 33, 52 power, come on, these are very low powered moves, and a special attack stat, while solid, is nothing to write home about. So, that's pretty iffy. At the very least, that's iffy. At worst, at best it's iffy. At worst, it's still downright bad. Hard Knocks 9, lowering a random stat against an enemy. Users, 100% chance of lowering a random stat when using a move, sync move, or max move targeting an opponent. So just random debuffs, this can be very helpful for sure. Debuffing potentially attack or special or speed or accuracy, evasion, whatever. Accuracy could be good, attack could be good for preventing damage, defense could be good if you're running like a mixed offensive set or something. Either way, definitely not too bad for like any longer battle with like Latios or something. Not something that Bede makes immense use of, just from his ability to already debuff special defense, but it's definitely nice for any fortification enemies, or if you want to power up any allies that have like power play or something. Overall, that's mostly Bede's 3 out of 5 grid. I mean, he does again gain the nuke, which is nice, the more consistent special defense debuffs, the debuffs for all the stats at random, and also Confusion Synergy 9, I guess, if you want to try DPS. I don't know, I still don't think Bede is that crazy. He's got a decent nuke, but realistically, so do a lot of other fairy units, especially the burst DPSs now. Big thing with Bede is that all he has is the nuke, and it's all single target as well, so that's pretty iffy. He does have the Field EX roll now, but also with how abundant Fairy Zone is, at least especially ever since his release, or, well, I guess there was never a Fairy Zone on release for him. Wally was the first unit with it, but even then, you had Signusuit Wally, you've got Signusuit Mina, you've got Volo, right? You got yourself 3 Fairy Zone setters right there. You got Fairy rebuff as well in the form of Penny. You've got yourself Gladion for actual DPS. I know he doesn't set Fairies or anything, but he's actually got damage to back up his power. So, I mean, that's something. And obviously in the future, I also expect we're going to get more Fairy Zone units. We do have the Eevee, the Sylveon, Egg Sylveon, right? That too. Another field unit. Or another Fairy Zone setting unit, so... I don't think that Bede getting field is that crazy. It's good. I mean, it just means you don't have to run a Fairy Zone setter, but realistically, you can definitely build a team around having a Fairy Zone setter for Bede anyway, like whether it be Wally, Mina, or Volo, or whoever, right? So I don't think that him having the fielder role is that insane, but it is something for sure. It does help with the self-sufficiency, and it does extend Fairy Zone as well. I just don't know how practical it's going to be over just running someone else like Wally, Mina, or Volo. Because honestly, I'd say Volo is just better than Bede. Like, Bede has a nuke, but Volo has much more utility. Just being honest. 4 to 5 gets max countdown and recuperation. Recuperation is probably good for Gauntlet solos. Probably. Max countdown 2 is good for some sync acceleration. Could be helpful, just potentially, maybe with some sync ramping or something, like Wally with his good sync countdown abilities. Just really depends on your team. The 5 out of 5 gets another G-Max Smite node, so you got 2 of those, giving him a, plus 680 base power G-Max Smite, which is great. And then max damage guard for probably maybe another Gauntlet ability. But I mean, this also could be good potentially when used at the appropriate time to maybe prevent like a high-powered sync move from hitting you, or doing a lot of damage, rather. This could be very vital, potentially, in any game modes like that. So, sync damage guard could be helpful, or sorry, max damage guard could be helpful for that. Really just depends again. If I were to think of a grid for this guy, I probably wouldn't even go for the 3 out of 5, or sorry, the 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5. I mean, again, 4 out of 5 is probably good for the Rally, but not Rally, the Legendary Gauntlet, but that's really all I can think about for the recuperation. And the max Smite power is good, but it's a lot of investment for a unit that, in my opinion, is already not that fantastic. Good enough, but not fantastic. I don't know, this is probably what I'd run. Maybe run extra grid energy. Since he's already 3 out of 5, maybe invest extra grid energy, get Stupor Fire, something like that. Then you can power up Psybeam, I guess, if you want to, sure. Because really, you want Fuzzy Strike, and indirectly you're going to want to pick up Churn Move Ramp Up anyway, because otherwise you have to pick up Super Powered for the Super Duper Effective 2 for the exact same energy, and then you still want the Sync node, so you're already at less energy there. Sure, I guess that's a decent enough Bede grid. I don't know. I don't think Bede's a fantastic unit, but I mean, he does have use. The debuffs are nice. The nuke's pretty solid. I don't think there's much else to really say there, though, especially because characters like Wally can already debuff similarly and nuke similarly, and also if you have actual DPS options like Gladion now, and Licia. Licia's a big one, right? I think Bede was kind of released as like a Diantha buffer, but really just was not needed for that role. Yeah, honestly, that's kind of the thought I'm getting, is like he was there to help activate Diantha's multipliers, and then Wally literally came out pretty much for Diantha, being with Shiny Gardevoir, right? Whatever, let's look at Wally, the better of the two, 100%. Wally with level 140, 6-star EX. He's got 532 special attack, 242 special defense, 239 physical defense, 745 health, 282 speed. Speed's lacking, but honestly, all these stats are good. Like, surprisingly, the defenses are that high. Like, 239 defense and 242 special defense is quite high for a tech, and 745 health is about average. 532 special attack is extremely good. And on Mega Evolution, it's over 600 special attack. That's really good. 290 special defense as well. These are like, this is a very good stat buff. Especially once you get to level 150, you got over 300 special defense. That's near support levels of special defense. So the tanking Wally can do may actually be quite solid. And he also got the Sprint EX roll that does buff his HP to over 800. Well, even at level 140, over 800 health, which is really, really good. 662 special attack at level 140 after Mega Evolution, and then 322 speed is also quite helpful. 239 defense. level 150, 690, nearly 700 special attack. I think Signusuit Wally is the highest special attack in the game. I think. The only other contention that I can think of off the top of my head immediately is Giovanni, which I know that sounds weird, but Giovanni's got absurd special attack despite his age. Like literally look at that. 647 health. 647 special attack on Giovanni, and how much on Wally again? 693, right? Yeah, it's a pretty big difference, but still, I mean, it's kind of crazy how high these special attack stats can get, especially when most modern offensive units have, like, I think we consider, like, really good to be above 500. The fact these units are nearly, like, 200 at that point, nearly 200 above that point is crazy. But anyway, he's got good special attack, like, really good special attack, which does help out with his nuke, for one, because, of course, he's got the Mega Sync nuke because of Gardevoir, becoming Mega Gardevoir, so... Does the sprite change? Oh, it does change. Huh, interesting. Anyway. You got Disarming Voice, which is not really useful for much. I mean, you can do damage with it, but it's kind of like Bede's Dazzling Gleam. It's pretty cope. Fairy Wish for Fairy Zone, of course, does make him really useful in that aspect, especially because it's on demand. Ultimate Dazzling Gleam activation is whenever an ally Mega Evolves. Deactivation condition is when it, well, cannot be deactivated, I guess. It's one use anyway, it does not matter. This is probably the biggest caveat to Wally's existence, is that you have to Mega Evolve an ally or himself in order to activate this buddy move, which does kind of suck. It limits your team building a bit to, like, you know, Signusuit Brendan as a support, Holiday Jasmine as a support, Cynthia and Lucario or something, or obviously your main DPS being a Mega Sync pair, which for Fairy specifically, like, there's not many Fairy Mega Evolution potential Pokemon in general besides Gardevoir. It's like, what, Mawile, Diancie, those two. There's more, probably, but I can't think of all the Mega Pokemon off the top of my head. But anyway, point being, all of those Pokemon are either different typed or not Mega Evolving, right? Especially in Diancie and Mawile's case. Marnie's got Mega Mawile, but it's Steel. Diantha and Hilda both have Mega Diancie, but they're Rock. Valor's got Mawile, but it can't Mega Evolve. Diantha's got Gardevoir, but they were built for each other. And even then, Diantha's not that fantastic. It's not like you want to nuke with her anyway, prior to Wally. So that was probably the biggest problem with Wally now, but that has been fixed pretty much by the Sprint EX scroll, and also just by, I guess, the fact that he had a decent nuke anyway, so it wasn't that bad, but this definitely helps that out a ton. Lowers the target special attack and attack by 4 stat ranks, and lower target fairy rebuff by 1. This is why I say it was not good for Diantha, or why Diantha's not worth sync nuking in order to activate this, because her whole thing is needing special attack debuffs. If Wally's meant to activate that in burst with this buddy move, it defeats the purpose entirely, because Diantha already nuked with a lower powered nuke. Obviously you can nuke with Diantha again, but at that point, why don't you just nuke with Wally? Because Wally's actually got stuff here like Head Start 1 and Head Start 2, right? Whatever. He's got a Training move, I Won't Fall Behind, raising special attack by 2 and special defense and crit by 1. Pretty nice. I mean, he does need a crit support to max out crit, but that's fine. It's not really that big of a problem. And then the innate multiplier is when there's Fairy Zone, so that's cool. 1 out of 5, he's got 240 base power nuke. That's not too bad. Can kind of deal with that just fine. Does definitely help that he has the Tech EX, so it does make the power look a little bit better from being a Mega Sync pair, which is nice. His passive skills, he's got Head Start 1 for -1 sync countdown on entry, Gobsmack 4 for 50% chance of confusion, and Team Speedy Entry 2, raising ally speed, so he does have some decent gauge management abilities. Nothing crazy inherently, but the Head Start 1 can be useful for some sync ramping. And when he Mega Evolves, he gets Head Start 2, which does activate on Mega Evolution, so -2 sync countdown there, which is very, very good for potential sync ramping, especially, again, combined with this puppy, the Sprint EX roll. So that's nice. And then he keeps Gobsmack 4 and Team Speedy Entry 2. I'm pretty sure Team Speedy Entry 2 will activate again on Wally's sync move, so you will be getting +4 speed to the whole team in total, which is great. And of course, that will be activating the buddy move, getting you that -4 in the offenses, and the lowered enemy fairy rebuff for that 30% extra damage to fairy sync pairs, fairy allies, and Wally himself. And it does 100. It's got 100 base power, so decent damage too. So overall, not too bad, not too shabby. Wally getting the Sprint EX roll was a very, very good buff specifically for this. Sprint support would have been good as well, but now Sprint actually gives you a reason to want to nuke with Wally, because obviously you're getting in relatively decent nuke, I guess. Pretty easy to activate, right? But the big thing is that you're also getting the stats for Mega Gardevoir, and you're getting that -3 sync countdown on top of the -2 sync countdown you get from having Head Start 2, which gives you a ton of sync countdown, allows you to get to your next sync move extremely quickly, a lot faster than, honestly, most other sprint sync pairs, being realistic. Because this alone, this gives you -3 sync countdown, putting you at 6 total before your next sync move. Head Start 2, that's another -2, so you've got -5, meaning you need 4 sync countdown to get to your next sync move. Then if you quad Q with Wally, or give him Adrenaline 1, you've got -6, which skips 2 entire turns, and then if you simply quad Q with Wally, you've got all 3. You got the 3 that you need, because you obviously are going to have 2 moves queued up with your allies, then Wally's going to be able to quad Q, that gives you 3. It's good stuff. If the math doesn't work out, then no sprint is -3, Adrenaline 1 is -1, Head Start 2 is -2, and then the move with Wally from quad queuing, and then the 2 moves from your allies being queued up, that's another -3. That's -9 sync countdown. So effectively, after using Wally's sync move, if you have Adrenaline 1 or another method of sync countdown from your allies, and you quad Q with Wally, or again, have another method of sync countdown from your allies that's going to be queued up in those 2 moves, whatever, then Wally will be getting to his second sync move, or your allies, whatever, doesn't your team will be getting to their second sync move, or their next sync move, pretty much immediately after Wally uses his, which effectively can negate the necessity, not negate necessarily, but make up for the fact that he doesn't have support EX, because you just get to your next sync move and pretty much instantly, which is extremely good. So very, very good for sync ramping, extremely effective at that role too. It's something that people probably have to try out in game to make full understanding of, but the biggest point being, you can skip a whole sync cycle in a turn with Cygnus Suit Wally with the Sprint EX roll now, which is amazing for sure. In the grid, 1 out of 5's got pretty much nothing. Some training move NPR, I guess. Training move NPR is decent for being able to actually max out his offenses, so that's nice. Could be helpful for not having to bring any crit support, but there's a lot of supports that do that now, so it's not really that necessary. And then mostly nothing besides like Dauntless, I guess. Total Effect is Gobsmack 2 for an extra 30% chance to confuse the enemy, so 50% chance and 30% chance, just far higher chances of confusion in general. Quick Tempo, applying gauge acceleration on an entry. I think this also may activate when he becomes Mega Gardevoir, or when the Gardevoir Mega evolves, so you will be getting another bit of gauge acceleration, so Team Gauge is going to be good, especially combined with Team Speedy Entry on Mega Evolution and on Entry, so you will be getting a lot of good gauge. Whimsical Acceleration and Whimsical Stability, preventing stat debuffs and charging gauge quicker, just more quality of life things. Team Speedy Entry 1, this can give you up to +6 speed from Wally just entering battle and also Mega evolving, right? So there you go, even more speed. Very, very efficient gauge unit, right? This is like a sprint unit before sprint, pretty much. That's pretty much how Wally does function. It's like a field and sprint inherently. Can we redo Wally and make him a field sprint? That'd be cool. Anyway, Disarming Voice, he's got Super Duper Effective 5 for it, and Disarming Voice, Foul Fighting 5, so you do have that 100% in total multipliers for having an enemy affected with Flinching, Confusion, or Trap, and also being super effective, so against any Fairy Weak enemies, you'll be doing some damage, that's for sure, but really it's not that great anyway, it's still Disarming Voice at the end of the day. And also plus 20 special attack for over 700 special attack, which is, well, that's cool. 3 out of 5 he gets Mind Boggler 9, Interference Sync 5, Overpower, Struck by Tree, Fairy, Wish, NPR, Status Immunity, Sync Nodes, Devastation, and Discourage 2. Sure. Gets Mind Boggler for special defense debuffs on the enemy that are affected by Confusion, extremely helpful. So now he's able to debuff attack, special attack, and special defense. Very good for his own damage as well as any allies you are empowering that are special based. Whether it be Bede, as aforementioned, his own High Bede, sure. Or probably Gladion is the biggest case, empowering his buffs, or his damage rather. And Interference Sync 5 for 50% Sync Nuke multiplier, as well as Devastation for 150% total in multipliers from the grid, combined with the 100% from the innate multiplier. While he's got 250% multipliers, very, very strong, very, very solid nuke, combined with the Sprint EX roll for all of the sync ramping, and the high power from, okay, not high power, but also the effects of Ultimate Dazzling Gleam, gonna make Wally look quite impressive, or at least quite fast, I guess. The big thing with Devastation is that obviously you need special attack debuffs, which same problem as Diantha, you need to have synced with Wally or a Mega Support in order to have gotten those debuffs. But again, consider the fact that Wally has the ability to pretty much go to another sync move right after his first one, and that alleviates the problem a ton, especially considering Diantha can't do that, which is one of the biggest problems with that same strategy with her. Fairy Wish NPR, obviously, extra Fairy Zone is very nice, of course, especially only having 2 uses. He has no extension at 3 out of 5. He does have it at 5 out of 5 here, but obviously you have to get to 5 out of 5 first. So having this way to manage that is nice, especially because he doesn't really do too much else in battle. Like, sure, you got Disarming Voice, I guess, for Mind Boggler, but for the most part, Disarming Voice is just filler. So picking up NPR instead and being able to use that is not going to be detrimental to your move queue order, I guess. Discourage 2, lowering all enemy special attack on entry. I'm going to guess again that applies on Mega Evolution, so you will be getting -6 special attack combined with Discourage 2 and the special attack debuffs with Ultimate Dazzling Gleam. Not much else to say. -6 special attack, definitely good for maxing out Wally's nuke, on top of getting -6 special attack so the enemies are hitting weaker. Sharp Entry 1, this just effectively removes the necessity of trying to move NPR, which... really, it's either you're choosing Train Move NPR or you're picking up like Quick Tempo, because you can sack this and you're picking up one of these abilities. One of these abilities are being picked up, and it doesn't really matter which. So I don't see the necessity of Sharp Entry 1 when you can just pick up Train Move NPR. That's simple. Overpower, more special attack is debuffed, powers up the moves. It's just a 30% multiplier for Disarming Voice. Combine that with Foul Fighting and Super Duper Effective 9, or sorry, Super Duper Effective 5. You've got some Disarming Voice DPS. Sure. I don't think that's really worth investing in, though, simply for the fact that you're going to be nuking the enemies to all high hell instead of trying to scream them to death. And then, obviously, Interference Sync and Mind Boggler all have their good utilities. This is why Disarming Voice is not garbage, because, obviously, you can debuff Special Defense with it, which is good. This is probably the grid I'd run for Wally. 3 out of 5. I mean, you get the special defense debuffs, you get the full nuke, you get the special attack debuffs on entry, you get the Train Move NPR for special attack and crit maxing for full self-sufficiency. If you're bringing a support that can max out Wally's offenses, then just bring Quick Tempo. It doesn't really matter either way, though. I mean, the gauge is nice, I guess, but really not that necessary with him already buffing speed. I don't think the gauge is that necessary, but I mean, at least it's nice. It's a nice little perk. So -3 energy, that's what I pick up with Wally. I guess worst comes to worst, just drop Discourage, because I think Mind Boggler is universally going to be something you want to pick up. It's either Mind Boggler or Discourage. I'd rather just drop Discourage. I think that's fine. Maybe Discourage 2 would be useful for empowering that first nuke when Wally is Mega Evolving and get the Sprint activated. Maybe going for Discourage 2 would be better on that, because you at least get, like, what, a third of the Devastation activated there. You're getting the -2 special attack, so there will be a partially activated Devastation for the first nuke. I don't know. Really, it's just depending on how you want to do it. Either way, just pick up them. Just invest the 40,000 sync orbs, realistically, and just get this. I think this is fine. Or of course, you could just do this and just invest 20,000 sync orbs. You could do that too, sure. I don't think it really matters that much. 4 out of 5, he gets Discombobulate 9 and Head Start 1. Head Start 1 is nice. This doesn't stack, I think, when using Mega Gardevoir, simply because of how these passives work. I don't think, again, not 100% sure, but I don't think they stack. So I don't think it works for both entry and on Mega Evolution. But I mean, at least it's there. It's something, right? So that's cool. Yeah, first time user enters a battle each battle, I guess. Yeah, okay, that makes more sense. The first time the user enters a battle each battle, so this only activates once per battle, and even if you enter a battle again, it still won't proc. That's why it has Start 2 procs, because it's a different passive. That makes sense. Anyway, so Head Start 1, it'll only activate on entry, so it'll only combine with the regular first Head Start 1 here. So you'll need either Head Start 1 Wally as a passive skill or a lucky skill, which then removes Adrenaline, which could screw up your sprint strategy if you're going to abuse what I said was probably the best. Or, of course, if you have Sync Countdown, that would mitigate that from another ally, but that also may mitigate the necessity of even running Head Start 1 as a grid skill in the first place. I know this is a lot of hypothetical, and a lot of people probably don't understand what I'm saying, but just trust me. Probably not that great of a node to pick up. Discombobulate 9, lowering enemy accuracy when the attack move is successful. This gives him a lot of debuffing. He's got special attack, special defense, and accuracy. That's a lot of debuffs for sure. I don't think it's that crazy. Probably good in the gauntlet, but outside of that, probably nothing you're going to be paying much attention to. And then 5 out of 5, he gets Team Brain Gain 9, raising special moves next of all allies on Fairy Wish, and then Fairy Zone Extension, effectively removing the massive necessity of Fairy Wish NPR, which isn't really that necessary in shorter battles anyway, but I mean, it is helpful, and obviously it's good in the longer battles, but honestly, I think they're both worth picking up in longer battles, so, Either way, I mean, he does have access to it now. This will mean that you have to drop probably Discourage, which, I mean, wow, Discourage, boo-hoo. Just run like Penny, man. Penny's one of his best supports, and she's got Satisfied Snicker somewhere in here. Yeah, Satisfied Snicker 9. Or Gladion. Like, if you're running Gladion, like, come on, he already debuffed special attack. Volo debuffed special attack. Like, there's a lot of debuffing characters that work well with Wally. Even Diantha, if you want to cope a little bit. And Marnie, and Bede. Like, even Sycamore's got Moonblast. I think he's got Honor Roll somewhere. Yeah, he's got Moonblast Honor Roll. Point being, there's a lot of special attack debuffers. Discourage or maxing out Wally's multipliers is not going to be that hard, even on a budget. Worst comes to worst, run like Karen or something. I don't recommend running Karen, but you can. Anyway, so yeah, Fairy Zone Extension is very nice. You could probably even pick up Fairy Wish NPR, and this is your -10 energy max cap there. So if you want to invest in Wally fully, then you can potentially pick up something like this, which could be nice. You could also run that, but really, I mean, just go for the quick tempo. Whatever. Yeah, I mean, he's got a pretty good grid, just in general. 3 out of 5 is good. 5 out of 5 is good specifically for the Fairy Wish NPR. I don't think anything in between that is really just the 4 out of 5. I don't think the 4 out of 5 is that crazy, but the 5 out of 5 can be good for that Fairy Wish extension, Fairy Zone extension. So that is definitely good for sure. I don't know if this is the best Wally grid, but this is definitely something you're going to have a lot of good general usage out of. And again, if you're in like shorter battles and you don't really care that much for the Fairy Wish NPR / Fairy Zone extension, then just drop them, pick up maybe Discourage or whatever. I mean, it's fine. You're going to have a lot of energy left over anyway. Wally's grid is not that expensive, so that's fine. I think Wally's a good unit too. Setting the Fairy rebuff in Fairy Zone, he's got the debuffs, he's got the extremely good sync acceleration with the Sprint EX roll now. Definitely a worthwhile investment for sure, especially compared to most other non-supports that get the Sprint EX roll for seemingly no reason, like classic Elisa, Poppy, and Lysander. But whatever. That's my thoughts about the double Fairy PokeFair banner. Hope you all enjoyed. Let me know if you're going to be investing in Bede and Wally's EX rolls, if you're going to be summoning for them. And let me know what you think about these sync pairs down in the comments below. I don't have either. Well, I've got Bede, but I'm not going to be showcasing Bede because of the high score event. Really, there's not much to show about Bede. It's just special attack and speed, special defense debuffs, really, which a lot of other characters can mimic now. Yeah, whatever. I'll see you all later. I hope you all enjoyed.